Hey, welcome to this video. We're already moving towards the peak of spring, so there's a lot of flowers and trees blooming, and it's just really beautiful and awesome being out. Also like the temperature, like I'm still having a jacket on, but it's getting warmer and warmer, and yeah, just a pleasure to experience everything just not really coming to life, but just like starting to blow into peak. So if you look behind me, there's actually an alley of trees, which are all looking beautiful and blooming, and especially with the sun being out, it's just amazing. It's so colorful and vibrant. So I wanted to take an image of one of them, or potentially multiple. So I'm just walking around and trying different compositions and trying to make something work in a frame, composing something. So I just came across this tree in the very back, and it's the one that somehow caught my attention more than all of the other trees. It's very hard to put into words, but I believe it's because of the way the sun is lighting up the grass right in front of the tree. And there's some bushes right behind the tree, which kind of like interferes with the light, so there's a little bit of play between light and shade. And I think that is what caught my attention, because it just makes a superb foreground, but also surrounding of the tree. I'm zooming in quite far. I'm at around 50 mil, so it's kind of like a close-up shot, and I only have about probably 1/3 of the tree in my frame. So I'm really just punching in. I'm putting the tree on the right hand side of my frame, not in the center, and then I'm just making use of the light and the shadow on the grass, the beautiful color, and just having that kind of like lead out of the frame. So now I'm just waiting for a brief moment, because there's a little bit of breeze around, and I would like to expose this quite brightly, so I'm at 1/40th of a second, but I don't really want any motion blur in this image. Yeah, I kind of have a feeling that it would work better if it was just like still and not any motion in the leaves, so I'm just kind of waiting for that. Also, I've added a polarizer just to bring out a little bit more saturation and remove the glare in the grass. I'm not really sure it's having too much of an effect on the flowers or like the tree in and of itself, but on the grass you can definitely see like this very saturated green coming out, and yeah, it just makes the image a little bit more poppy and like vibrant. So I expect golden hour to start in around about an hour. So I'm just going to keep on going and see if when the light changes any more images will reveal itself to me. So if I'm honest, I'm very unsure about the scene, because it looks beautiful like to the eye and also kind of on the back of the camera, but it's incredibly chaotic. What has first drawn me to the scene is the half-emerged tree in the small lake over here. Usually this lake is very dry, there's not a lot of water in there, but right now it's almost full, and it just has this tree in it which is half submerged, then emerges again, and then the pattern kind of repeats, and then at the end it's just really coming out of the water. And it's kind of interfering with one tree that is right next to me, and it almost looks like the leaves from this tree belong to the tree in the water. Yeah, which just creates an interesting illusion. Then obviously I have the water surface, and then in the background this beautiful tree backlit by the sun, with all of these leaves ranking down into the water. And it just looked so interesting to me that I wanted to include it into the frame, into the background. But then in the same time I have to angle the camera downward, because I don't want to include sky at the top, because otherwise it would be just completely distracting and blown out and just pure white. It's really difficult. So again, I'm using a polarizer on the scene just to get rid of the reflections on the water, to bring more attention to the subject, and also take away the glare from the tree in the background, just because there's a lot more vibrancy coming through, and it just looks better. This might even work as a black and white image. Yeah, it's just very hard to describe, super chaotic. I think the main tree, the branches coming towards me on the right hand side, and then the other tree in the background kind of on the left hand side, but having a lot of leaves ranking down, it creates some sort of balance to the image. Yeah, I'm really unsure about that one. What might also work is a long exposure, because it would just flatten out the water surface. There's a little bit of ripple on the water because there's some fish in there, but I don't think it's quite necessary. It's gonna do just fine. Yes, I gotta see in post. There's no way I can judge this here on the small screen. We'll take it. Okay, last but not least, one more scene. I came across a tree right in the field over there, and just beautiful because the tree is still catching some light while the field right in front of me is kind of like half lit, half shade, so it creates like interesting patterns. Then I have kind of like a hill-shaped background with a lot of leading lines because it like tracks from like field work, tractors. In the background, half is kind of like dirty and the other half is kind of green grass. So it just kind of creates a lot of shapes and a lot of separation. And then I have the single tree being lit up. Just a beautiful scene. So I'm shooting this in two different versions. The first one's just going to be a straight on vertical composition, full extension, 300mm. I'm making use a lot of the telecompression, really just compressing the landscape right in front of me and behind, and then just really making the tree stick out. Just like that. And then I'm taking the second version of this image, which is more of like a landscape one, horizontal, it's a wider field of view. And I'm including a lot of the landscape around the tree, making sure I have all of the texture and the shapes. And the tree is just like standing there on its own, but still pretty much being the main interest of the subject. Now as the light is changing, oh, it looks superb. Let me just grab that one. Okay, so let me know in the comments what you think about the two images, which one you prefer, the vertical, just focusing on the tree, or the horizontal one, more of like a landscape shot. If you're interested, I have a landscape photography course where I teach you everything you need to know about landscape photography, being out in the field, settings of your camera, post-processing. It's in the description, the first link. You might want to give that a look. Apart from that, thank you for watching, like, share, subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next one.